Hey, it's Central Valley Business. I'm your host, Steve Walling, and my guest for this segment is Larry King. Not the same Larry King, but Larry King nonetheless. Larry, welcome to the show. We're talking about HR consulting and coaching, executive coaching to be specific, right?
Yes.
Good deal. So, you've had a couple years' experience doing this, right?
40 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
That's a couple weeks, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is the market for looking for an HR consultant in this business environment that we're in right
Primarily focus on small companies, startups, companies that don't have the ability to hire a full-time professional or full-time staff, and need some help getting started to try to avoid making mistakes, getting into trouble.
What kind of mistakes and trouble can a startup company get into?
Simple things like if you're in the food processing business,
right.
you have to wear what's called PPE, personal protective equipment. It could be a smock or a hat or something of that nature.
Right.
Those have to be put on the clock.
Really?
You can't just have people put those on prior to getting started, and it's called donning and doffing. There's been a number of companies up and down the valley that have been sued for that successfully, to the tune of millions of dollars.
Well, that can be. I mean, you don't think about it. Okay, you have your employees come in and they time in, and
if they time in, it's okay.
Yeah, but if
they don't time in and they start putting on their equipment, it's like people. The place I worked before, guys would come in, jump on the forklift, which was being recharged in one area,
right.
Drive over to the place they were going to be working, go upstairs, get a cup of coffee. It's just prior to start shift.
Right.
They're just making it easy for themselves to get on the equipment when they were getting started. I didn't stop that because when they touched that forklift, they were touching a tool that they were using at work, and that has to be on the clock. And
they have to be on the clock, and that is something that most people don't think. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm just going. It's easy. I'm not going to charge my boss. Who cares? But if that becomes the environment within the company, and somebody does care, all of a sudden you get some serious issues, don't you?
That's correct. Yeah. And especially in California, which is very strict rules and guidelines and that sort of thing.
So for startup companies, particularly here in the Central Valley area, and we got a lot of ag business, you can bring a lot to the table for them, can't you?
I think so, in terms of particularly compliance issues and things like that. Again, these are things the average person wouldn't think about them because it's kind of common sense to just not even think about that kind of thing. But California does not have common sense rules. They have very strict guidelines.
I'm not going to comment on that, but I understand what you're saying. Okay, so that's great. What other individuals besides startup would have use for an HR?
Small companies, small to medium-sized companies. Yeah. Again, it's meant to be an adjunct to maybe other professionals in the business. I deal with things like selection strategies, how to go about selecting better people. It's not just a question of better interviewing. It's really trying to come up with ideas for testing a person a bit before they get into the job.
Right.
Because turnover in California is very expensive.
People don't think about that. You hire an employee. The hiring itself is a cost. You train them. There's another cost, and you're not really making, particularly if there's certain skills required that they don't have. You invest the time, which is money for a business, in training them. You build them up, and then you decide they don't work.
Yeah.
And you got to go through it all over again.
That's right. And you've lost all of that plus the opportunity at the same time. So it's much more expensive than people realize. Yeah. So better selection strategies can have a big payoff for the average company. And that could even be for larger companies because, again, the idea of just interviewing people and things of that nature, usually this isn't a well-guided process.
Right.
So you need to have a real structure in place to facilitate that. And you want to be focusing on the people that are most likely to be successful in the job.
And in your company.
Better selection techniques.
Yeah. That's awesome. Let's talk about executive coaching.
Executive coaching for me is, it's just like coaching a player.
Okay.
They may be an excellent athlete. They may be very good at a lot of things, but there can be some things they aren't as good at because they haven't had to be. Usually executives are pretty successful.
Right.
But you get to a certain level and you need someone to be able to talk to, someone to share things with, someone to get advice from, someone who's safe. It's hard to get this from your employees because you're an executive.
Right.
It's hard to get it from other executives because you could be in competition with them.
Exactly. Yeah. They're looking at your job going, oh, okay, he's got this. I'm going to remember that.
Showing weaknesses or issues is not the easiest thing for people to do, men or women. So someone like myself, and this is a role I've played for a long time in business as an HR executive, is safe.
Yeah.
You can come talk to me because I'm not competing with you.
Right.
I'm not interested in your job. I'm only here to do one thing, listen to you and help. And really the listening part is what's critical because sometimes just listening to a person is therapeutic.
Yeah.
It helps them. Or they may be trying to sort out an issue. And you can point out that you can do this or you can do that and help them just kind of think through that.
And you bring another perspective to the table.
That's right.
And that can be very important sometimes.
And I think for the average executive, it's a worthwhile service because, again, everyone has problems and doubts from time to time, or issues they don't like to deal with. Usually performance issues with their subordinates. That's something that almost every manager or executive struggles with.
Really?
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you talk to a person about their performance and they're not doing well, if you fire them, they're gone. You don't see them again. They're completely out of the picture. But if you're counseling them or coaching them or trying to get them to perform at a higher level, you're dealing with them on a daily basis. And that can be painful, especially if they're not doing well. But it's a process you have to go through for legal or other reasons.
That's pretty interesting. And seeking to motivate them in ways that today's environment, you brought up something very, very pertinent. It's the legal issues. I mean, just terminating somebody anymore is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to do.
It can be depending on the circumstances. But it's usually not. Even in California, which has a fairly good protection for employers, we're a state that allows people to be terminated for any reason, for no reason. But it's still difficult because you can be sued. People are afraid of this. There's lots of issues that go along with it. But my job really is to try to get the person to perform better, not to get them fired.
And that works out for everybody, doesn't it?
It does. Because again, it's a resource that you've invested in, and hopefully they can pay off in time.
Well, that's awesome, Larry. So how do we get a hold of you?
Well, I'm just getting started. So I have a Gmail account. doctorfromiaeger. Yeager is IAEGER. It's my hometown in West Virginia where I grew up. At gmail.com. My phone number is 209-263-2302. The doctor comes from the fact I have a PhD. I have a PhD in industrial psychology. So
there you go.
So
you, besides years of experience, you bring a little bit of other gravitas with you, so to speak, huh?
I hope so.
Yeah, very good. So for startup businesses that are established, that are small enough that they don't have an in-house HR, for executives that are looking for guidance or just a resource to pair themselves against to help them focus and comply with the laws, but also to advance their career in a way that allows them to be even more effective and successful.
That's the goal.
There you go. Well, that's great, Larry. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
If you're a small business, a bigger business, even a big business, Larry may have something to offer for you. Larry King, get a hold of him. And I'll see you when we come back.